Good morning, all of you.
Good
Good
morning, ma'am.
morning,
Good
ma'am.
morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. All right. So today we will continue the chapter attempts to civilize and educate the native. And if you remember, we started that during this time we have the Britishers ruling over us, and then we studied about the the Orientalists who thought that importance should be given to the learning of Indian language and literature, in Indian science and culture and philosophy. And William Jones, he was the main first person who started this, and in all this he was also uh, held by some others like Coolbrook, and also played a very important part. And the last thing that we ended was that all the officials, all the British officials, they did not accept this view that the Indian language and literature and sciences, it should be promoted, and many, they strongly oppose the views of the Orientalists. Okay, so now we come to the next group of people, and they were the critics, means those who criticize the Oriental learning, and they are called as the Anglicists. Anglicists means those who stress on the teaching of English language and English literature, English reason, science, philosophy. Okay. Now, the Orientalist vision of learning, it was criticized by many British officials, and why? Because they thought that the knowledge of East, it was full of errors, means it was full of mistakes, and it was unscientific. It was not based on reason, so it was unscientific, and they thought that it was not right on part of the Britishers to spend so much effort and so much money in promoting and encouraging the study of Arabic and Sanskrit language and literature. So they thought that the knowledge of the East was full of errors and mistake, and it was unscientific, so it was not very wise to send money and effort in on encouraging the Arabic and Sanskrit language and literature. Now, the person most prominent person in of the Anglicist view was James Mill, and James Mill, he was the one of those who attacked the Orientalists, and he was a prominent Anglicist, and uh, he said that the Britishers should not spend their effort, all right, and should not teach what the natives wanted, means the Britishers should not do what the Indians wanted. And according to James Mill, the aim of education should be to teach what is useful and what is practical, and not only what the natives or the people of India wanted. And then he continued, and he was of the view and said that Indians, they should be made familiar, means they should also come to know about the technical advances which the West has made, and rather than continue with the sacred literature of the Orient. So his thought was that literature, that the study, information, knowledge should be more useful and practical, and so the Indians should be made known with the technological advancement, and not only technological advancement but advancement in the field of science and literature and medicine and all that. And now that the West has made more advances in that, so he thought that that should be taught to the Indians rather than only the sacred literature, means the holy literature only of the Orient. So by 1830s, the attack on the Orientalists, it became more strong. Thomas Babington Macaulay, he saw India, he thought that India was a uncivilized country and it needed to be civilized, means the people here did not know, they lived as barbarians and they were not civilized people. So he thought that the Indians, they should be civilized as they are uncivilized, and he felt that for the good of India itself, the admission of natives to high offices must be affected. He thought that Indians should be promoted to high positions by slow degrees, no, because they did not have the necessary knowledge and education, and so he recommended that English should be promoted not only as a medium of education in India but also as lingua franca. What that means is that when the language of the peoples are different, so you pick up a common language. So a common language between speakers whose native language are different. So here in India, the native languages of the people were different. In India, all the people did not speak just one language. So the languages of the people were different. So they thought that English should be made as the lingua franca, the language in which the people conversed, and English should also be made as the medium of imparting education in India.
Ma'am,
Yes, beta. Yes, Samantha.
ma'am, please can you tell the meaning of lingua franca?
Beta, that is what I just now told you. It means a
Ma'am, please.
common language between speakers whose native languages are different. All right.
Okay, ma'am, thank
So that
Yes.
is what is meant. That is what I was explaining. That in terms of India, the languages that the people spoke here were many. They were not one. And so to converse in one language, they thought that it will be better to pick up English as the lingua franca, or the language in which the people converse together, where the languages of the people were so different. Okay. Now the words most often which are quoted from Macaulay's speech are his claim. What he said: a single shelf of a good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and Arabia. Now he really looked down on the language and literature of the East, and he said just a single shelf of good European language and history and library, it was worth more than the whole language, than the whole literature of India and Arabia. And so this was his thought, and so he urged the British government that not to waste money on promoting the Oriental learning. Why? Because he thought that it was of no practical use. It was unscientific and unpractical, and it was useless as per his views. So Macaulay, he opted for English. Why? Because he thought that it had the necessary vocabulary for teaching the modern science, philosophy, law and history. Macaulay thought that if we prefer, or if we take up English as a medium of instruction, then it will be better for the people, because it has a proper vocabulary to teach all the modern subjects like science, philosophy, law and history. And he said that okay, Oriental languages might have produced great poetry, but then when we pass from works of imagination to works in which facts are recorded, so what he said that okay, poetry section of Indian literature might be very good, but when we pass from works of imaginations and feelings and we go on to the works which are practical, uh, then uh, to facts which are practical or facts which are recorded, and the general principles when they have to be investigated, at that time the European languages, their superiority is much more. So what he said is that if you are talking about feelings and impractical things and poetry and imagination, then the Indian languages are okay, but if you want to move to the facts or investigation of principles, then the European languages were far more superior for that purpose. Still, he thought that in time English might come to be supplanted by tongues indigenous to India, and so he thought that in time English would be at least supplanted. Meaning is already given here. At least in part, it should be by tongues indigenous to India. So in English also will become a part of the Indian languages, and thus he predicted that as the Indian people they rise and become intellectuals and scholars, and they learn more, then they will be able to refine the people, the scholars of India. When they receive a proper education, then they will be able to refine the vernacular dialects. Vernacular is the local languages. In India, the people spoke so many different languages. Even now they speak so many different languages, and so he thought that when the people of India, they become intellectual enough, they become scholars enough, they have a proper education according to the European system, then they will be able to refine the local languages, and they will enrich the Indian languages, the vernacular languages, with terms of science which are borrowed from the Western nomenclature. Nomenclature means a system of giving names. So what they will do, they will pick up the system of the West and plant those words in the Indian languages and making it more richer, and in that way they will convey knowledge to the masses of Indians. And something like this happened also, and far from being destroyed, the vernacular languages were not destroyed, but they flourished and developed in colonial times. And so the vernacular languages, though the English language were promoted, but still the vernacular languages, they did not die down, and on the contrary they flourished also. Why? Because of the advent of the printing press, means when the printing press arrived, so the vernacular languages also got a boost. And Macaulay, he emphasized the need to teach the English language, as it would allow the Indians to read the finest literature in the world. And so Macaulay thought that if the Indian people knew and they were made aware, and they got knowledge of the English language and literature, then they will be able to read the best literature in the world, and it would also make people learn about the Western science and philosophy. And then he thought one more thing, that if people were taught English, then it will also change the values of the people, the customs of the people, the culture of the Indians, and it would also help civilize the uncivilized Indians. And as a result of his work, the English Education Act of 1835 was introduced, and as a result, English was to become the medium of instruction or the medium of teaching for higher education, and Oriental institutions, they continued for the lower classes, like the Calcutta Madrasa and the
Ma'am, your
Banaras.
voice is breaking.
Ma'am, you are not audible.
I am not audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Might be because of some network issues.
No, ma'am.
Haan beta. Maybe some of you might be having problems.
Ma'am, now you are.
Now it is clear.
Audible.
Now also not audible.
Yes, ma'am.
What about the rest?
Yes, ma'am. Now it is clear. Ma'am,
Ma'am, now it's clear. Now it is
Ma'am, now it is.
Okay, all right. And even might be some network issues, might be at your end, because at my end it is showing proper network. I don't know, might be both places, but otherwise, even if you miss some things, you can go through the recording, because the recording will not have any lag. All right. So if you go through the recording, then you will find each and everything proper, and you will miss nothing. So you can go through the recording once I send it to you. Okay, so we were talking about Macaulay and about the English Education Act of 1835, and according to it, English was to become the medium of instruction. Means the in higher classes, English was to be the medium of instruction, and so that was to be promoted, whereas the Oriental institutions, means the institutions which taught the Indian literature and language, like the Calcutta Madrasa and the Benares Sanskrit College, they were to be demoted. So Oriental language to be demoted and English language to be promoted, and English textbooks began to be printed for the schools also now. Beta, someone's audio is not muted. Please mute your audios, all of you. Yes, right. Thank you. Now, the promotion of practical languages and practical literature, now practical education, now this was opposed by the Christian missionaries. And why? Because they emphasized on improving the moral character of the people, and they thought that it could be done by Christian education and not by only practical education. All right, and so the Christian missionaries, they were against this spread or promotion of practical education. And now William Carey, a Scottish missionary, he helped to establish the Serampore mission, and Serampore College was established in 1818. And during the 19th century, missionary schools were set up all over India. Have you understood till here? Any confusion, class 8?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so we move on with the Wood's Dispatch. Now in 1854, Sir Charles Wood, he prepared a policy, you could say, on the scheme of future education in India, and Wood's Education Dispatch, it formed the basis of the education policy of the East India Company's government in India since 1854. And this dispatch, it was forwarded to the government of India so that they can create a proper system of education from the primary level to the university level. And it is often described as the Magna Carta of modern education in India, means from it we derived our education system also. That is still prevalent. So it is described as the Magna Carta of modern education in India, and the dispatch is said to be one of the wisest state papers. And this Wood's Dispatch is said to be one of the wisest things which was prepared by the Court of Directors, or you can say one of the wisest things which was done by the British officials. And it was indeed a landmark in the history of modern education in India, and it gave a proper plan for the later development of the education system in this subcontinent also. And the Wood's Dispatch, it accepted that the improvement and far wider extension of education. So the Wood's Dispatch, it gave proper attention not only to only English but also to the vernacular languages. And they said that it was the sacred duty, it was the duty of the government of India to impart and promote both education, English as well as vernacular, to the people here. And the Wood's Dispatch, it laid down the following measures so that education can be properly imparted to the people here. Let's see what were the measures. First, it's prescribed that there should be a separate department of education in the administrative system. There should be a separate department of education, and you know, as of now also we have a separate department of education in our administrative system or in our government. Then universities should be founded in 3 of the presidency towns. What were the presidency towns? Which were the presidencies town under British? Tell me. This we have already done. There were 3 presidency towns under British. Which were those in India? Hurry up. Class 80. The presidency towns. One was Calcutta.
Ma'am, Delhi.
No. Not Delhi. Calcutta. There were 2 more. Hurry up. There were port cities also. Very important port cities.
Ma'am, Banaras.
Beta, Benares is a port city. You have a port there.
Bombay.
Bombay.
Bombay, Calcutta, Bombay,
And
Madras.
and right,
Madras.
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 Yes, right. So Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. So the foundation, the Woods Dispatch said that 3 universities should be founded and established in the 3 presidency towns, and then institutions to train teachers for all types of schools, primary, middle, senior, university level. So institutions to train teachers should also be established. We still follow that. And then the maintenance, it is the responsibility of the government to maintain the existing government schools and high schools, and it is also the responsibility of the government to establish new schools if it is necessary. Then it said to establish new middle schools, because primary schools were there more in numbers as compared to the middle schools. Then the Woods Dispatch said that more attention should be paid to vernacular schools, the indigenous, the local schools, and others for expansion of elementary education, because English was a foreign language, and so most of the people did not know. So the Woods Dispatch said that the lower level education should be in the vernacular, the indigenous languages, the language which were known to the people of India. And so greater attention should be paid to the vernacular schools, the indigenous, and other types of schools for the expansion of elementary education. Then introduction of a system of grants in aid to help support a rising number of privately managed educational institutions, and then also to provide aid in time of need to the private institution also. The schools which are set up by the government, obviously the money they will get from the government, but the schools and the institutions which were set up by the private people, now the Woods Dispatch said that they should also be given certain grant or aid to help in their work. So the Woods Dispatch, it gave special attention of the government to the importance of placing the means of acquiring. So basically what it stressed on, what type of education? Useful and practical knowledge, and that should be provided to the masses here. And English was to be the medium of instruction at the higher branches, and vernacular or the local languages of the people at the lower level. English was to be taught wherever it was required, and English was not to be substituted for the vernacular, means the vernacular languages should not be removed and English taught in its place, but wherever it was required, English should be taught, otherwise vernacular could be taught. And there should be a properly graded system of scholarships to be introduced, and so a system of scholarships which were given to students who were in need, or exceptionally bright students, they should be awarded scholarships, and female education should also get proper support from the government. And after the 1854 dispatch, education departments, they were set up, and in 1857 universities were set up in Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. Okay, so have you understood till here, all of you?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
so we will end today's class here only. If you have any queries, you can ask. And this chapter basically deals with the system of education, and also very important, as you all are also students, so you should know that how education, how the system of education was in our country before the Britishers came here, and during their time what was the system of education, in which languages the education was imparted, and also this is very important chapter for you all also.